that to you.
Send it to us. Yeah, but we read it sometimes, TechCrunch as well. You know, to start, I have one question for you. Why have you decided this topic? Have you had experience working with augmented reality, or
No.
you know, intelligence, that stuff? Why have you decided this topic?
I've always liked anything that is new and cutting edge. So artificial intelligence is a topic that's evergreen. And so periodically there is a new technology that comes and there would be a lot of discussion. Or somebody would write something, there would be a lot of discussion. And so it was not something that I was totally new to, but it was not up on my radar. And I don't know. I think I just had a discussion. Oh, I know, I remember. I have this Alexa device in my home. Okay, it's that Echo device. The article starts and ends with it, right? So we kind of play with it, right? When anybody comes to our house, we say, "Hey, talk to Alexa," and ask her a question, and they will ask something, and then she will answer something, and it's kind of fun. And then my daughter came with some friends and said, "Alexa, you're stupid," and she said, "I'm sorry, I'll do better next time." And the next time when she said that, she said, that's not so nice. And I was like, that's interesting, And so I was just thinking, I tend to hack. When I see things, I try to break it. I just think, how does this person decide, what they put, and it's giving me this user interface. That's just how my brain works. So I just thought, are these people in Amazon, they have a list of questions and answers that's rule-based, right? And then Alexa is just going to keep giving the same thing. So I kind of tried to play with it. And then instead of being stupid, I said, how come you're so smart? And it said, there are all these smart people working and to help me build my, my mind, or some statement like that. And so that really resonated with me. And then I literally went back one of these Friday nights. I went back with my family, and my daughter had not seen older generation Robo movies, and iRobo is really my favorite movie. So I said, let's go watch iRobo. And then felt like this is like Sunny. In that movie, the Robo comes to life, and so then it actually does things on its own. And so one of the things I keep doing is I like to stay on a learning mode. So I'm learning machine learning. So there are all these courses online, and if you guys are interested, I can give you the resources. I can actually share the links with Joseph, so I'm just not talking and you lose it. So it could be, so there is machine learning courses on Coursera and so many places. So I started taking this machine learning course. Just for the record, it is not easy. It burns your brain before you actually learn it. Okay. So one of the concept was, it's rule based. You can make things, say, it's just rule based, right? This, you actually know, you think you're smart as a human, and you know what the outcome should be, and you make the computer do it. So you make your program think of all possible conditions and work it, right? And write the code for it. And then there is this whole concept where it's called deep learning, where you don't know the rule. You make the computer learn it. So the most common example they give is, a small kid pretty much learns to differentiate between a dog and a cat. But if you define that to a computer, it's very hard, because it's 4 legs, it's of a certain size, and all those other description kind of matches both of them. And in fact, the child can even differentiate between different types of cats and different types of dogs, right? So, and there are certain cats which look like dogs, or vice versa, right? So, but the human brain somehow learns, and nobody tells us the rules. And so that is now being applied in many companies. Google is doing this, Amazon is doing that. All of them are learning, applying machine learning, and to come up with their own rules. And they're taking to the next level to this, what is called as deep learning. And the self-driving car, supposedly, they first went through the whole thing of giving it rules of, people could cut this way, cut that way, this could happen, that could happen. And then they decided to do this deep learning, and they just random started sending, a golf cart in front of it or random things and make it learn all kinds of situations, and that did better. And so I started thinking about this and said, okay, we have all this. So I'm focused on Internet of Things, and that means everything around us becomes smart and becomes a device. And so I just started, thinking of scenarios. First, all the things I've written are my imagination, right? Wherever I link and say this company does that, it's what is real, right? But everything else, I'm just thinking if you take it to the next level. So you can actually have gesture control, and today you can do that. You can move your hands, and it senses the motion, and there's a motion sensor, and it's programmed to do something. So it turns on my light, or it closes my door, or it does something, right? Those things are all feasible today. But I was just thinking, what if the device could learn? What if, and similarly for facial recognition, right? There is an experiment going on, at least in two retailers. One, I'm not supposed to name names, in US, and there is one in Italy. There is a retail chain, and they are looking at facial recognition. So you go into a store, and there is the software which looks at your face and decides whether you're male or female, what is your age profile. Based on that, they want to merchandise things for you in the store. They want to turn the music for certain age demographics, and then they're testing whether your buying increases, you spend more time in the store. So I feel there is so much power to these technologies, but it's kind of used in a very dumb way because they want to commercialize it. So if this facial recognition software knows that, in a real setting, right? If it's a human sitting next to me, facial recognition is not just going to say, oh, she's happy, she's unhappy. I used to practice this at work at eBay. When we sit in a meeting, everybody doesn't speak up. Typically, women speak up less, and I compensate and I speak a lot. So, you know, but that doesn't mean they agree to everything or they don't have opinions, right? They have smart opinions that just will come out in certain kind of healthy environment. So I developed a habit to just watch, right? I would keep talking, but I would look at body language, or I would say, who is smiling? I'm sorry, I don't know everybody's name, but I see one person in front of me smiling, and people on this side, not smiling, right? I I made everybody laugh. But I tend to watch that in a meeting when something is going on. So if somebody is making a decision and say, oh, even if they said good things, I had this one experience where my boss introduced me to a new group and said, he thought he was helping the other person and said, oh, Sudha is joining this team and she's going to take this on. And I could see the person who he thought he was helping, she was much lower rank than him, but she didn't like it. For a split second, her smile wiped off, but she knew she was not powerful enough to oppose this. So she just kept a very, no expression. For a second, her face had no expression. And then she tried to be, then she was conscious to be normal. And I looked at her, I noticed it. And I know that she's not going to be helpful to me, right? She's going to be upset with me. She's going to make it difficult to make the transition and whatnot, right? Then I went to my boss afterwards and I said, did you know you do this? You pissed off Karen. And he's like, no, I was trying to help her. I said, yes, your intentions were all good, but that's not what she took out of it. And then he had to go do damage control and talk to her separately. So this might, this is not something that we go about. It looks like a big deal when you put so much words around it, but that happens all around us. And so when you say a computer is going to recognize facial expressions, then I think, imagine it sitting in a social setting, and it should actually know, not just that this person smiles, this person is sad, by their definitions, but what if it knows that you're being sarcastic or you're rolling your eyes? And so I kind of started writing things. And then half of them are my dreams. I want those devices. I want all these devices to come and do stuff for me in my house, Yeah. So that's where it came. I started writing, and then I think TechCrunch has a calendar. Each for the whole year, they put a calendar on what theme they are going to cover for the year. And I think for October, they had something like technology and religion. Do we need religion or some thing? So I kind of turned that around to, this topic is close to them, and went and sold them on this and said, going to, and they said, okay, AI is kind of evergreen, so let's take it. So, but then I usually enjoy taking something as a topic where I'm absolutely clueless, and I go and research that. It's like an exam or a test, right? You go to school, you have, you guys have a specific class, and you have this assignment. You have I like that. I don't know, I might have been a nerd in school. I don't remember much, but I find that it's a forcing function, right? It gives you focus. So instead of saying, I'm going to talk about IoT and then the world is open, right? I'm not going to get anything. I'm not going to achieve anything. But if I have a goal that I write this article, it's a commitment to myself, right? And then when I get to a decent shape, then I go sell it to somebody. Now it's a commitment to them. Now I put it out there, then they'll come after me on a deadline, right? But before that, I just say, okay, I'm going to focus on this. And even that machine learning is something I'm seeing. Every big company is working on machine learning, and they are applying it differently. So I just look at things and say, oh, where else are they doing this? And I think there's a set of engineers who just love the challenge of building these algorithms for the sake of it, right? And they're outsmarting each other. But the repercussion of that when it becomes a device that's in your life is something else. And so I was just thinking, what's out. I'm actually, like, if you see the list of things that I've listed, all the different companies that are doing stuff, if all of them take off, it'll be a scary world. But reality is, we don't know. The reality is, it's not just about the technology. They might not do good marketing. They might not get the adoption. And 2-3 of them will come with the same idea. They will compete and they'll all die. So that's the reality of business. And so it's just another iteration, and then we'll get somewhere. So that's my take. And I did go talk to Alexa. So I tried to go talk to the Alexa people. I talked to most of the people in the article. And in fact, when I visited you guys, I stopped by in Amsterdam on my way back. When I left from here, that early morning I flew. I actually troubled Joseph to find this amazing itinerary for me, so I could, leave here, stop there, get down in Amsterdam for 6 hours, and then fly back the same day. I'm so thankful for that, Joseph. Yeah. But the funny thing is, it is not just Amsterdam that I wanted to visit. There is this one company called Layar, Layar, and I'm sure they pronounce it differently. And they don't have enough. It's one of those augmented reality software, and it's from Amsterdam. I couldn't meet those guys, but I could point that app in different places and walk around Amsterdam and see it work. And I could not see it work in my world, because they have to sign up with companies, businesses to create that augmented layer. And they didn't have it in my neighborhood, right? So I couldn't find it. And so I said, Amsterdam, layer, let me get down and just walk. And so I did get to test it out. And I still have people. The good thing is, once you put something like this out there, people ping you, right? More people. I have somebody else who has pinged me. Actually, it's a company from Barcelona who is here in, who's visiting Bay Area. They want to establish in Bay Area, so they're coming for a couple months and going back. And it's augmented reality with the Google glasses. And so I get pings from people like that. And so it's like a treat, right? They come and give me new stuff, and I'm completely don't know anything about it. But I don't believe anybody, I'm nice to people because I appreciate the effort that's put in. But when somebody says this is the greatest thing, I try to break it. My attitude is let's break it. I'm not sure it's the greatest thing. And so that's how that whole article came about. Long version, but more history. But that's a good question. Good starting question.
I have a question.
Yes. Can you please give your name and who asked the first question? Well, who was the person who asked what's your name? What's your name?
Sorry, what?
So what is your name?
Nastasia.
Nastasia. Okay.
Yes, I have
Okay.
a question.
Yeah. So, no, he asked a question. I just want to make sure that I get your names and so let's
Yeah.
go to him since he asked a question. Next question. But
I'll go back to what you said about machine learning inside of the companies. As far as I remember, you've been working in big companies like eBay, right? Um,
no, actually, big company, Google, LinkedIn, Amazon, all of them have some team who's doing machine learning, and
Can you tell a little bit more about the process? How does it?
how they're applying, right? I I heard Amazon, I think, is just applying it. Amazon
Oh, oh.
says if you bought this, you also buy. People who bought this also bought using machine learning, right? They try to understand the customer behavior. What did the customer really come to buy? What would they buy next? What has a higher probability if I recommend that? And for that, the e-commerce sites use machine learning. In eBay, they tried to do machine learning for something which was a flop, which I can tell you now that I'm not working in eBay. So I don't know what they're doing now. But I was on the mobile side of things, and they launched a mobile app every quarter. So they had the eBay app, and then they would add a new release to it, right, every quarter. So they had 4 releases each year. And they had that for iPhone app, Android app, iPad app, and the mobile web experience, which is the browser. So let's just take one iPhone, right? So for each of these, eBay is in the business to make money. So when they go to the product team and say, okay, start working on whatever cool features you want to add and give me a new release by end of the quarter. The business people who are interested in growing the business in different regions are expecting more money to come. So they call it growth, and they don't measure it in raw dollars, they measure it in percentage growth. So they will, and it's called, the e-commerce term for it is called lift. So they'll say, how much lift will I get when you launch this app? And before anything is done, the product person would say, the customer likes this, the customer doesn't like this, we need to move this button here. When they are scrolling, the buy button goes away, so I want the buy button to say persistent, so I'm going to add all these features. Or Apple added this fingerprinting, so I'm going to add fingerprinting feature, or whatever, right? So they would have features they would add, and it is all driven by what they think is good for the customer, not about money. So the belief of the product person is, once you do the right thing by the customer will keep buying and you will make more money. But in reality, the business people have to wait and watch. And then there will be a whole analytics team who will be measuring how much customers came in and how much whether traffic increased, how much conversion we got, how much money we made each day. So at the end of it, so say March they launch, right? They will watch for some time, and by April, everybody would have upgraded to the new app. So from March, how much money they made versus how much they made in the end of April, if they measure it, there would be a lift. And that would be, say, 1% of whatever it was before, 1% over whatever. So of the previous money they were making. And so nobody could say, I'm going to get you 1% lift. And so the way they would go about it is out of all the features they're adding, say they're adding 20 new features, right? Some of them would be bug fixes, some of them would be the features that I gave a list, right? 3 or 4 were the key features that customer felt attracted, because of which their usage increased and they ended up buying more, right? So they will take those 3 or 4 features and they will A/B test them. They will release it only for some percentage of the population and put the other percentage of the population on the old version. And then they will see whether there's a money difference. And then they would say, oh, this particular feature actually is growing more, is creating more money. Now we will ramp it to 100% of the users. And that's the process. Most of the consumer web companies do that. Facebook, all of them do that, right? Anybody who has a consumer facing .com site and a mobile app corresponding, that's their way. And so they are able to measure how much business growth is going to come after the fact. And before that, they're kind of betting on the product manager to just know that this is the hot feature they should be investing. Then what happens is, there could be a feature that is accepted by North America, but not by Amsterdam or by India. different countries, the customers' preferences are different, right? So then it gets more complex. So they had this problem. Somehow, before we invest the money and make the product managers go build this, for the product managers to build this, they have to invest that many product managers, that many designers, the team, right? They have to give them budget and headcount. So they said, can we just somehow magically measure? And then one time, I think a couple years back when iPhone launched the 7.0 version, Apple always partners with us, with eBay. And so Apple said, hey, it's super secret. We're going to launch this 7.0. It's going to have all these other features. So redesign your app with our new features and launch on the same day. And we will obviously list you when things go live, and Steve Jobs when he says things or whatever, right? So then they will be mentioned. So it was kind of a good arrangement for us. But that time, the 7.0 was a buggy release from Apple. It crashed big time. And our app crashed with it, right? And so people did not know whether our app crashed because we made a buggy release or whether the OS crashed. And so it took a week's time for Apple to come up with patches to release OS upgrades. Meantime, eBay was blamed by eBay users who started uninstalling it or stopped using it and reverted back to the old release and stuff like that. And so we actually had less money made and we got a negative growth, right? The lift was negative for the first time. And so business was terrified. So now comes machine learning. So they turned to us and said, can you somehow tell me that when I give you so much money and you're going to launch some release, how much lift should I be expecting? Just give me a number. Instead of telling me after the fact, estimate it. Give me your best guess. So I had to go through this manual hodgepodge of all the features that is going, comparable features, that how much money that they made, what I think it is going to be for different regions, this, that, and then it became my job. So it's a risk for the business, right? When they put something out and it's going to create negative growth and they're expecting to grow the business. So the whole concept of growth is, for a public company, the CEO will stand up and say, when they go to Wall Street and do the earning announcement, they will say, next time, by the time we come back, we are going to grow the business by 12%. When the CEO says that, that means every division on an average should grow by 12%, or there might be something that grows bigger than 12 and somebody else is lesser, right? But if you put that together, the company's growth should be 12%. They're making 12% more raw dollars than what they're showing today, right? So that number gets transferred down. So the mobile team has to make their 12%. And so for each quarter, if they're releasing something that so if they're going iPhone app, Android app, each of them should contribute their 2%, 3%, whatever, it'll add up to the 12%. But people were not thinking. Finance people were expecting that. Product people said, we cannot talk about lift. And just because it's going to cross growth, we cannot give them a bad experience. So there was that thing. And so one of the things we ended up doing was, we said, let's apply machine learning. And we basically treat this as a bundles, right? So think of this as a system. And we feed the system an app. It was making some money. We feed the system some app with a lot of features. And by the time it comes out in a month's time, it's going to make more money or less money, some X money. So, and what does that system have? The system has a bunch of users who are using this app. And the way the users upgrade is typically an app releases that same day everybody won't release. One day, some people will download. The next day, a bunch of more people will download. So we had historic data that in 7 days, 75% of our user base will upgrade to the new app. The 25% are lurkers who will wait and watch and say, okay, now they're forcing us to change, fine, and then they'll upgrade. And so we had this data of who are the users. So we were watching, so we could watch as soon as a release comes. And that's how we were measuring what the lift was coming out of it manually each time. So now we had past data. So now we went to do machine learning and we said, now let's feed this to the system. And what mistake we did was, we didn't do this deep learning. We basically came up with our own algorithm. We know what worked. When you do this on Android, it works. You do this or this time, Christmas time, this happens, whatever, right? We made up our own rules and we tried to feed that algorithm to the system. And we took the data from last 4 releases and we fed it, and we wanted it to produce it should. So now the concept is, we know what the lift was because this is past data, right? We knew the iOS release caused 2% negative growth. We knew the other release, whatever, caused 3% positive growth. So we knew that. So now when we feed this bundle of data into this machine learning algorithm, it should spit out that number answer is 2% or minus 2% or whatever, right? It didn't give that to us consistently, which means we failed in coming up with the right algorithm. We kept on tweaking it, puts all kinds of stats model, whatnot. So maybe they'll go back into the future and go do it. But at that point, we had to kind of give up and say, we are not able to do it. So that is one where we could make this, instead of us making the rules, we could actually feed past data, make the computer come up with the rules of what kind of customer upgrade. So our top customers brought in 10% of, 10% of our customers, we call them top customers, top buyers, and they brought 80% of our revenue. And they were the lurkers who would not upgrade. I know this as a human when I dig at the data, right? If I fed this to a computer, the computer can also find out. You say, these are the people who are bringing most money, and these are the people who are not upgrading till the 7th day, right? So your data is useless till 7 days because those are people who are anyway not going to spend money, right? Those things a computer can find out. So that's just an example. I'm sorry I made it sound very complex. It is kind of complex. And that was kind of a humbling exercise because we could not get it to work. Okay. This person here, this guy here had a question I did not answer. I want to be sure. Yeah. What is your name and what is your question? Sorry. No, I can't.
Pablo?
Okay, got it, Pablo.
There you go. Nice. So my question is, in the article and now while you were speaking about it, you have like a really positive outlook on this machine learning and deep learning and artificial intelligence in general. But when does this positive thing become this nightmare, like Big Brother style? I'm guessing you got this question a lot since you wrote that article. But for me, all the things when you're talking about it, they sound really interesting on their own, independently. But when you put it all together, it's Big Brother basically. It's monitoring everything you do. It knows everything that you're about to do, what you did yesterday, what you're gonna buy tomorrow. This becomes a really scary thought that you lose your free will, and then all of a sudden you're just following along the line that some computer has traced for you, and you're just another ant in the line. So what do you think about this?
So there's a set of people. There is this concept of singularity, where the human brain and the computer becomes one. And there's a whole group of people who are many times smarter than me, who've been working on this. And there is something called Singularity Institute. You should check that out. Singularity Institute. Singularity University, I think it's called Singularity University. If you search for Singularity, it's a whole bunch of all these smart futurist people from Google and some people from Yahoo came together and built this. They call it Singularity University, I think, or Institute. I don't remember, but it's Singularity. And their concept is, at some point, our brain will be extended by a machine. So the boundary of human and machine will blur or something like that. That's a very scary world. So I just want to say, for the record, I am not even ready to think about that world, okay? Because does sound look scary for me. But those people, when you hear them talk, they make it sound like it's the absolute truth. It's just going to happen. My version of it is, you make the computer do things for you that looks like convenience, and then slowly you kind of get used to it, and you're lazy and you give up free will, right? I don't think it's a matter of if it will happen. I just think it will happen. If you look at when we did not have computers, even I did not live in that world, right? Where when I grew up, I did not have computers. I did not know what I was missing without awesome smartphones as a kid. But we've had computers for many, many years, and they do so many amazing things. And with the internet and access, they do so many things. We are already addicted to it. We are already, slaves of it, right? It's it's a difference of whether you think whether you're a slave to it or not, right? That question of whether it's a master or slave. There's a group of people who think that one day these computers will become intelligent and they will stop listening to us. This whole, if you make them feed the data, that whole iRobo movie. Has anybody seen iRobo movie here?
iRobot?
Yeah,
What
iRobo. It's an old movie. It's a cool movie. So there the concept is that they make robots to come and help people do all kinds of stuff. And then they say humans are not logical, they're erratic, and they actually have 3 rules. And one of them is they're supposed to save humans and they're supposed to, help them, right? And they find that they start figuring out that we are not smart. Humans do wars and they kill each other and stuff like that. So they say, we are following your rule, but we are saving you, but we're saving you from yourself. And so they kind of revolt. That's one of those. It's actually, you will actually like the robo, because the robot is the hero of the movie in that exercise. But there are people who believe that again is science fiction today. So when you feed it machine learning, it's so far away. Like for machine learning, for the deep learning, let it come up with its rules or what is good and bad. From where we are today, for it to do everything on its own, it is so far away. So I don't. Because when you actually practically go to do the machine learning, you have to feed it data. So getting the correct data becomes an important thing, which is a human exercise, right? So it's not something that it will get consciousness and all that, right? That's kind of still theory. Logically, there is nothing that is going to give it consciousness, feed it that, right? So that's not there yet. But the world that I describe, where machines will do all kinds of things and you think you're in charge, but you're not in charge and they are running your life, is not unreal. It's not actually scary. I actually think it's a cool world. It's just that where we start thinking that, hey, maybe they're controlling us, maybe this thing is, if you think about it, Google knows everything we search. It stores all kinds of stuff and it makes recommendations for us, it customizes, it knows way too much about us, right? And working from e-commerce, that's the marketer's dream, to know more about you, to give you exactly what you want at the point at which you want, even before you knew you wanted it. That's like a marketer's dream, and people have been working towards that for generations, right? And Amazon saying, I'll manage my supply chain so that I will have things pre-ordered and ready, so that as soon as you ask for it, as soon as you order, I will deliver it. I will have it at your doorstep, right? That's their dream. But for that, they're trying to learn your behavior more and more and more with high degree of prediction. When they serve you something, whether you would buy. If they do that with high level of confidence, they will invest and buy that item and keep it, so that as soon as you click the button, your drone can, deliver it outside your door, right? But that's where we are going towards. So already, I think the existing companies who are doing it are aspiring to know you more, kind of control you in some sense, right? Their computers control us in some sense. But I think when we say it controls, it's not just a machine is going to walk around. The machine, even if all this is real, and if you talk to a machine and it tells you, Alexa, what should I wear today? And Alexa looks at the temperature outside, looks at the temperature inside, talks to my Nest, looks at what's in my closet, knows what I worn last week, comes back and tells me what I should wear. Suppose, right? I make up these things like that because I'm lazy. I just want these computers to do stuff for me. And there's nothing, it doesn't mean that Alexa is controlling me. Amazon is giving me Alexa, and if this service is really feasible and people start using it, they're going to charge some money for it. So when we say we are afraid of that world, we are not afraid of computers. We are afraid of the companies, the humans behind those computers. So it sounds racist, but I've heard this. People say, oh, there are all these people slogging in China, and they are working on all these robotic things, and they're going to replace them with robots who will work on the factories that is cheaper than humans. If you zoom out, it looks like, oh my god. And I have read the stories where they say, oh, the robots are taking away jobs, and then what kind of jobs will they take? And the reality is, it is not computers are coming and doing this, right? There is a capitalist system, and we allow that as citizens, and then we lull our senses to go to an extreme amount of greed and vote for those people to let us, let them do this, and then they do that, right? And then the computer, the robot, the drone is just a invention in that process. So I think that's important to remember, that it is not. So if the society becomes such an anarchy that we don't care about humans and we let them rot and get somebody else to have more money because they could create these robots, that's our problem with the society, with the social structure, not with the robots. They're just a tool at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, you guys can disagree. It's not that I have to be right. I'm not always right.
Yeah, I disagree with it. I think it's going to get to a point where there's like a synergy between humans and, well, I think we're getting to that point soon, like in the next few years, where the robots are going to be able to pull the heavy weights, but then like the fine detail things is done by like a human that's working side by side with this robot and sort of, feeding it the right.
Yeah. So the way I see that, it is not going to happen overnight, right? So then you can it frees up time. So if my computer, some device is going to cook for me, clean my house, reorder things that is missing, and even tells me what to wear, I'm going to be freed up of so much time. Now I'm an idle brain, I'll go do something else with it. So I do believe fundamentally we have like a creative streak to go solve for some problem, right? When it was cavemen, trying to find fire or something else, right? We would go do that, or we would go into, more creative art and something else, right? Even if a computer can draw it, it's not going to be the same as the creative release from a human. And so, that might be the next renaissance once all the boring jobs are done by robots. Then we could have, more art and culture and architecture, and then we make them break the stone or whatever material and go build the stuff for us. So that's possible too. But again, it's an extreme optimistic view. So it's going to be somewhere in between. More questions.
Ellen.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what's your name?
My name is Susanna.
Susanna. Okay. What's your question, Susanna?
I would like to know what I was missing with the article was how will machine learning help us to process information, or how will it help humans to get smarter? For example, I'm doing some things in social entrepreneurship where I'm looking at how deep learning, for example, helps you to create a simpler text analysis, for example. So do you think, what is the potential for education or the way that humans actually, like, we have so much information now that we have on the internet, but how will this type of learning help us when machines will start to process that information and put it into context and then actually help us become smarter? Like, where do you see potential?
So let me rephrase this question and tell me I got this right before I start giving an answer. So you're basically saying, how will machine learning help students, and how will it help with a social cause like education?
Yes.
Okay. So basically today, there are all these courses for free. You guys should and can go and learn that, right? The courses online for machine learning. And it's just a tool, right? It just teaches you how to feed data and how to come up with an algorithm. There is a professor from Oxford. His name is Ajit Jaukar. He is the best known expert for deep learning. He was the one who had this chat with me once and got me. I mean, he gave me examples and let me ask dumb questions, made me realize this is something I can even learn. Like, I should learn, and it's feasible for me. Like, some of these things when you hear, right, it's so so out there, it's amazing, but you don't think you can touch it, right? I mean, so he kind of brought it, and he's doing a course online. And if you're in London, you can obviously take his course in person. Otherwise, he's doing it online, and he's teaching IoT and machine learning. That's his passion, and he personally wants to use this to make cities smarter. So when they say cities can be smarter, typically people are thinking, oh, smart waste management. Barcelona has it, by the way, guys. There's a lot of smart things that Barcelona has that is so subtle that you don't even know that city has these things smart for you. But smart grid, smart waste management, energy management, that's how people are thinking. Well, that's what people talk about. But when you look at a real city, it's real people. And people is not one thing, right? There are all kinds of people. There are people who want technology. They want technology to be invisible. There are people who don't want technology up on our face. We just want to be real. We want, like people talk about social media and they say, oh, then it's not letting us meet face to face, right? So there are variety of people who come together to create that city. So the flavor of Barcelona is so different from Amsterdam, which is different from Boston, right? So when you give machine learning as a tool, it's left first the student part. As students, I think absolutely you should learn because it's hard. It's going to get you jobs. It's going to get you to do more interesting things with whatever technology you're going to build a startup or anything, right? Like it helps you take it to the next level instead of just coding, right? So that's something that you should learn for the sake of that, right? Then it is left to you to figure out where you will apply that. That's where I like the Ajit example, because Ajit wants to apply that to cities. And what he's doing is, the one example I forgot to tell you is Facebook, Apple, all of them where they're using machine learning is for facial recognition. So when they have pictures, photos, right? They feed it to this machine learning algorithm to find patterns of this is Sudha and this is Pablo and this is Susanna, and it will put them back, right? Whether we were babies or whether we are in a crowd, we are dressed for Halloween, it doesn't matter. It puts, and it will show all the same pictures of the same people. And in my house, I have Google Photos, and I have this picture of kids I have taken 10 years back. Now they are grown up and they are teenagers or something, and then this Google Photos is smart enough to find it's the same person, and it shows my nephew's name, and then it picks all his pictures together, right? So they've been applying that to just do this smart sorting of images, which Facebook has not put to any useful use yet, right? Whereas what Ajit Jaukar, with his deep learning interest in city, he wants to do is he wants to feed reams and reams of video to this machine learning, deep learning algorithm, right, that he would write. And in a city setting, when you're out in a ballpark or in a stadium where it's crowded, when a kid gets separated from the parent, it's a nightmare. And at that point, he wants this algorithm to say, here's this kid, here's the dad, now they were here together. So they were two entities together. Now they're separated out and they're moving away because the kid is going looking for the dad and the dad is going looking for the kid. And with a high degree of confidence, as in statistical confidence, if it says, this is the kid that should be here, these two are the characters who are together, now they are separate. If it sends an alert, we can bring the kid and father together so fast that you cannot humanly do today. So that according to him, improves the quality of life for a city, because people come together for so many events, and this is an important use case he wants to solve for. So to your point, I don't know specifically for education. I don't know of anything that's going on. I know a lot of different things that's going on to improve education. First, to make it accessible to everybody. And second, instead of just giving devices, to kind of keep that learning modality where people can touch and feel and learn and still use devices. There's a bunch of efforts that's going on. But specifically, I am not aware of anybody applying deep learning to this thing. And I'm just now my crazy answer is going to come, right? That's the decent adult version of my answer. I don't know, if I were a student and I had my daughter stays up late at night and it's a nightmare for me. She's in 8th grade and she has tons and tons of homework. And I can't predict. Like the teachers, one day all the teachers decide to give homework at the same time. One day that there's only science. One day there's only math, and it's just all over the place. I don't know. I mean, I would like some kind of deep learning algorithm to predict homework load as a parent. And if I were her, I would like to know which one I should do, which one I should skip. I'll get away with it. Because she gets away, right? Because she cannot finish all of it. She does get away with some of them. And I'm sure there's a pattern of the data somewhere. If you look back for the past year, where the teacher was, nice and said, okay, I'll give you 3 more days, and it was weekend, and come finish it stuff. So, but I don't think the students are going to go write such a app. But I think it'll be hot if I give a homework reducing machine deep learning app for. They should even do their homework. That'll be even better. That's what they'll ask for. But I think the real thing is, I think, if you believe in social good and you have a specific thing you want to do, I think that's where you could. One case that Amsterdam is doing, they have something called a beacon mile, where they put a bunch of beacons along, the ferry path somewhere. They don't call it the ferry path. I don't know what it is called, but it seems like one of the canals, and there's a library and all those things. It's a public path, and there's a billboard which basically keeps showing ad, and it has power, right? So they use that power and put a sensor behind it, and they had a regatta, which is like a boating competition where a lot of people come together, and so they use that to just monitor people, how much crowd of people were coming, when they're coming, what frequency they were coming. So those things and all, they could easily kind of deep learn a pattern, right? Because this happens every year, it happens for various things, and so people must be going towards certain hot places, right? That's where everybody goes at different time of the day, and certain age profile people go, and so those things are all there in our learning about our neighborhood, right? Those could be deep learned. But what application would come out of it and how you would sell that application for adoption is a whole different game.
Doesn't the Microsoft, sorry to cut you off. I was just going to say, for the education one, an example of deep learning or machine learning, wouldn't that be like the HoloLens, Microsoft HoloLens, since they want to create everything that you would normally see on the page of a book in a 3D environment where you can interact with it and actually help a bot to learn.
So there's a whole bunch of, that when it comes, I would wait for it. But that it's just another technology like augmented reality. It's basically putting things out in 3D, right? And it's actually very cool. Now you can experience it more. Google has something called Google Cardboard. Actually, it's you can go. It's I think you can get it online. It's actually made of cardboard, and it's like glasses, right? It's some kind of glasses, and then you put an Android phone, or I don't think it works with an iPhone. You can put an Android phone in it, and then they have some kind of coding that you can do. And when you watch through that and you put the app, it shows up in it's not just 3D, it's virtual reality. So you can actually look through it, and you can see the Taj Mahal or Eiffel Tower, and you can walk under it and stuff like. It's not video, it's actually virtual reality, and you can create virtual environments like that. So I think it's the same concept of it's another medium of education, but how would you apply that to education? So there's a whole bunch of people who believe in throwing more technology at kids, and kids love it because they're growing with these devices. This generation just has grown with the devices. But how do you give it to them in such a way that it is helping them learn, engaging them, and not just I actually like all these cool toys, so I'm sure you throw this at any kid, they will play with it. But is that going to help them be better learners than what they're doing today? So in my kids' school, they have iPads. And then this district is talking about, we should make sure that every kid, nobody can be poor and not have an iPad. So the district should give an iPad for the kid to take home. That's the discussion they're having. I just think that's like so out of the world compared to somewhere else in the world, right? But I actually look at that, even though I'm a technologist, I just think it's so scary, because just by giving an iPad, you've not improved their quality of education, right? You've spent $500 more, and what can you give them? You have to give them the learning medium and content and everything else, right? If you take them out on a field trip, which costs much lesser, the kid might learn, or say on a specific topic, right? Say they're learning some kind of um, animal stuff. You take them out and go out in nature and show something, right? They would learn that better, right? That argument is there. And so I think the application of what you will get with these technologies is important. So I think it's in your hands how you apply that, what your passions are, and education is your passion, then go figure that out. I know one person here in San Francisco who's been who wants to create an IoT device which will attach to a textbook, and it is not a full device, it's like a circuit board. And so his thinking is, when you give a notebook, it's not a textbook, it's a notebook. Kids take notes, draw stuff, scribble stuff, and they learn a lot just by writing. Like while they're listening, when they write, and they will do that. For some people, you make them do stuff, right? You make them express what they have comprehended in some drawing, right? So there's a lot of stuff that happens on notebooks. So what he wants to do is, there is this whole moment to give, and they have this scribbling notebook. He wants to make the transition happen. So he's going to create some kind of circuit that will attach to the notebook, and you can just wire it on demand and connect to the internet. So if they're talking about, some solid structure and sublimation, then the right wiring at the right time should take them to see that related stuff from the internet to augment their learning. It's still kind of abstract, but he has pieces of it. He's been making progress on that. So there's a lot of possibilities, but it's left to you how you, like you said, it's a tool. How do you put it to work, and where is your passion? What do you believe? Finally, that's where I say it's all about society. But if you think too much of technology is bad, or too much of missing out on technology is bad, or somewhere in between, right? Where do you come in and you create stuff, get the adoption that will create that next round of society getting towards something more better than where we are. I turned philosophical, so.
Interesting. We are almost on time, so I think that there is some questions.
I have a question.
Yes. What's your name?
Veronica.
Tell me again.
Veronica.
Veronica. Okay. So what is your what's your question?
What do you think about the impact on the medicine? I mean, do you think that it would be possible to go to an hospital and have a surgery with some kind of machine that has learning about us? To go to the doctor and explain a machine, how do you feel and where do you have pain and so on?
You should have asked this as the last question. Next time you should speak up first.
Sorry.
So I'm actually trying to finish up my print book. So it will go into, I will put it for production for pre-order in 2 weeks' time. And my chapter about IoT and healthcare, I have a chapter that I had in previous book I'm kind of doing, and that collected all these things. Like I did the AI research, right? I have a whole bunch of things, but I have not touched and felt all of them. And I feel, before, as an outsider, you either go, everything looks scary or everything looks exciting when you hear about stuff, right? So I was in that place thinking, awesome, exciting stuff. So I can tell you about a couple exciting stuff. But I had an experience yesterday. I had this lightheadedness in my head, and I had to go to the doctor. And I thought he's going to give me some medicine and send me home. Instead, he said, oh, does it hurt here? Does it do this? Does it do that? I think you should go get a head scan. So nothing happened. At the end of it, I'm all right. But I ended up going to get a head scan. And when I went through that, I'm human. I'm scared. I don't know. Lot of speculation, right? The nurse who said was nice to me, the people who explained what I'm going through, and all that, right? And finally, when I was in there, I was thinking, I should signal my husband to take my picture, because I was in that CT scan machine, which looked like a donut, and my head is in there. I was thinking. So my initial response is, I want my picture. I couldn't take a selfie. They won't let me bring my phone. And this would make a great blog post. That's how I started my experience. By the time I went through it and came out, I was more human, right? I had better empathy. And I was thinking, and so when I was waiting, I was thinking, oh, all that thing they said, lawyers, doctors, those jobs are going to go away, because all they're doing is they are talking to you, trying to diagnose what you have, and then give you reference of what test to do and what medicine to take from a set that can be done by computers. And so robots are going to replace lawyers and doctors is one of those floating futuristic ideas, right? So I go there. In the beginning, I'm thinking, oh, this could be replaced by a lawyer. This could be replaced by another robot, and this, that. Right? And then by the time I'm done, I was like, I love these people. I want them live, right? So that's the reality of at least where we are today. So I don't think it's just going to jump. But there are all these awesome, again, insensitive me talking about how awesome it is because I'm not using it. So there is one device, which is an IoT device, which is small sensor, which is biodegradable. And my guess is it's made of RFID. I don't know. Okay. But it is a pill and you consume it. And it goes through your body. So the thinking is, when you go to the doctor and I say my head is spinning, he'll say, what have you been doing? I said, yeah, I've had less sleep. My dog woke me up. This happened. I'm trying to finish my book. I'm stressed about that. I'm just giving him whatever comes to my mind. In reality, there would be factors that cause to whatever my situation is, and I may not give him all the information. So he can only take the information I give, process it, and come up with a diagnosis, which is pretty imperfect. So the thinking is, if I had a machine and if I consumed a pill and it's tracking all my vitals day long, then it is going to say through the time when did my BP go up, and when this happened, when that happened, and it can capture all that. So the way this works is, you eat the pill and then they give you a patch that you put on your tummy, and it's discreet, and you go about your life. And so the pill gets all your vitals, it communicates, it somehow communicates. I don't know what it does with the patch. That's why I'm thinking it's RFID. I'll tell you in a minute if you're curious why RFID. And then it communicates to an app where it gives the information, and then it will give you patterns and everything about your vitals. And this has been FDA approved in US officially. So it is so scary that, and if I wear that sensitive hat I had for a short period yesterday, kids don't like eating medicine. Nobody likes eating medicine. To consume a medicine that would actually, go do some electronics in your body sounds super stupid, right? So my RFID, anybody wants to know why I think it's RFID? So RFID, yeah, all these sensors, everything should have power. They all need power, right? They all need some kind of battery. Anything that you make as a device needs battery. And they're not going to put a battery in the tummy. So my guess is that somehow in a biodegradable material, they've made a RFID chip. And RFID, the way it draws power is, if you show light on it or you put heat on it, you give it light. If you give it energy, it will absorb that energy and it will use that power. And so they put that patch. I think that patch gives it energy, and then the thing gets energy, and then it goes about collecting data, and then it communicates to your app to do that. So that is one. The other thing I heard is from Google. It is in the works. It's not yet launched. It's few years away. Is, they found our DNA sequence, and so there are things. So you might have something in your DNA which is a problem that could make you prone to some particular disease. And so now they are creating a bot that will go inside your body and fix your DNA sequence, so that you're free of whatever, from your history. That's feasible. they're playing with it. I call it playing with it because it's not clinically tested, but that's feasible. So there's a whole bunch of stuff. So I have again collected a bunch in my healthcare chapter. So I will be writing it. I will be thinking of your lovely questions and stay a little grounded as I do that.
We are waiting. Sudha.
Sorry.
We are waiting for your book.
Thank you so much. Yes, I will be happy. I don't know. I was thinking maybe I could ship copies. I don't know how many of you are here. Maybe I can award somebody for something awesome and ship a book. At least I will ship for Joseph.
To California, if you want. That's even better.
Yeah.
So yeah, the book is called The Internet of Things Business Primer, and it talks about, so it's in any technology, it's not just about the technology. How do you take the technology and build it into a product? How do you take the product and build it into a business? And then I'm focusing on IoT, and then I'm analyzing everybody I can, get my hands on, any kind of product, any kind of business, making up mini case studies. So it's been a fun exercise for me. So I would love to get your guys' feedback. So thank you. I have one question for this class. So it's 1 month here in BTS, and you've learned tons of stuff. You seem more relaxed than the first day I saw you. So what are you doing? Remember, one of my advice, I mean, there were so many of us and we gave a lot of advice, so I don't care. I'm not sure if you really remember this. What are you doing to take your learning, as you're learning your experience, to go share that with the world or put it out in social? Remember, I was telling you should go post on Medium or something. Is anybody doing that? Is your experience contained in these walls amongst you? Are you doing something else to share that while you're learning?
Sharing, no. Applying to my work, yes.
Yeah.
So I think
confident enough to share. Yes, yeah.
no, that's the thing people do. You feel you have to get a finished product, but you won't know. You have your own abstract idea of what is perfect, right? And you might be such a perfectionist that you might never want to put it out there. So I think it's important to share, and you will be surprised because there might be something lacking that you think is not perfect. There might be something awesome in it that somebody else might see. There might be other people like you who are thinking about similar things. So I think it's important to share. I'm not asking you to get crazy and tweet every 10 minutes or at the end of every day or something like that. But it might be good to go do a blog post, or I don't know if you're video people, it's easier to do video than writing. Put it out there, and you will be surprised to see there are like-minded people who would come and give you feedback, or who would build on it, right? Who, Susanna said about education, and you say, I'm taking this course and I'm trying to learn deep learning, but I would like to apply it to education. And we heard from Sudha, she didn't have any answers of how it could be applied to education. And you'll be surprised. Somebody out there might come back and say, I'm so passionate about education. I'm clueless about machine learning and all the awesome stuff you're talking. But I have this grand vision, and maybe I could work with you or partner with you. That's how, I mean, that it's there waiting for you, because you live in this era with internet access around the clock, right? And that person might be somewhere in Zambia or somewhere you might not even think of reaching them. I think you should do it.
Thank you.
Okay.
And if you put anything out, I will be your first follower. So please ping me.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Yeah.
Your time, we are really glad to have the opportunity to share that moment with you.
Thank you so much, Joseph. When you started this program, what you said, this is even bigger, right? You're staying up and trying to get students to come and talk to this strange, unknown lady, 9 hours away. So, and that's extra effort you're putting to help them. So thank you so much. And I'm so happy to be part of this. So I want to take a picture. I want to screen grab. Can everybody smile? One second.
You know?
Yes.
Got it?
Done. Thank you, guys. I'll send it to you.
Thank you very much, Sudha.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Yes. Adios. Bye.
Oh, yeah.